If this message found you today, pause for a moment, because it may not be as random as it seems. Somewhere beneath your plans, your doubts, your waiting, and your quiet questions about money, purpose, receiving, and worth, there is a field of possibility trying to speak in a language older than words. And the first thing it wants you to understand is this: abundance is not chasing you, and it is not running away from you. It is listening to the version of you that you keep becoming. It is no coincidence that you are here. If you are hearing this now, in this exact moment of your life, it may be because some part of you is ready to stop begging reality for signs and start recognizing the signs that have already been surrounding you. Not as superstition, not as a guarantee, but as an invitation to look differently at the relationship between your inner state, your choices, your attention, and the possibilities you allow yourself to receive. Soon, you will begin to see why abundance is not only about money. Later, you will discover why the quantum field, as a metaphor for infinite possibility, does not respond to desperation in the same way it responds to coherence. And by the end of this message, you may feel a quiet shift, as if something inside you has been waiting for permission to open. Abundance begins when you become available. Let that sentence enter slowly. Not available to chaos, not available to every desire of the ego, available to guidance, to timing, to inspired action, to receiving without guilt, to giving without depletion, to becoming the person who can hold more without losing the soul. Because perhaps the message of the field is not, run faster. Perhaps it is not, force harder. Perhaps it is not even, think positive until life obeys. Perhaps the message is more subtle, more sacred, more intimate. Become internally spacious enough for life to place something new in your hands. Before we go deeper, if you feel that this message is speaking to something you have not been able to explain, subscribe and stay connected to this frequency. Not as a simple click, but as a small commitment to your own remembrance. When you subscribe, let it mean, I am choosing to return to the messages that help me remember who I am becoming. Because this is not just another video, this is a threshold. And thresholds are not crossed by accident. There are moments in life when abundance feels close, almost near enough to touch, and yet somehow distant. You may feel that you have done the work, prayed the prayers, repeated the affirmations, made the plans, stayed patient, tried again, and still something feels blocked. Not completely closed, just not fully open. You may have noticed strange patterns, opportunities that almost arrive, people who appear and disappear, ideas that excite you but fade when fear enters, money that comes in and leaves too quickly, a dream that feels alive in your chest but difficult to manifest in your daily reality. If this is your experience, you are not broken, you are not behind, you are not being punished by life. Many people move through seasons where the outer world seems to lag behind the inner transformation already taking place. And sometimes, the gap between who you used to be and who you are becoming feels like uncertainty. But uncertainty is not always absence. Sometimes it is the field rearranging the visible pieces while the invisible pattern begins to change. There are two ways to hear this message. You can choose to keep looking at abundance as something outside of you, something that must be captured, convinced, forced, or chased. Or you can begin to see abundance as a relationship, a living conversation between your consciousness, your choices, your nervous system, your environment, and the doors you are willing to walk through. One path says, I will believe when I see. The other whispers, I will become the version of me who can recognize, receive, and respond. And deep down, you already know which path is calling you. The field of abundance does not ask you to deny reality. It asks you to stop worshiping limitation as if limitation were the final truth. It asks you to see your current circumstances without becoming identical to them. It asks you to honor where you are while remembering that where you are is not the end of your story. This is the first revelation. Abundance is not only what enters your life, it is also the inner capacity to notice what has been trying to enter all along. If that lands somewhere in you, anchor it now by liking this message. Let that like be more than a reaction. Let it be a signal to your own mind that says, I am paying attention. I am willing to see differently. I am willing to receive the message beneath the surface. Abundance begins when you become available, and availability is not passivity. This is important. Becoming available does not mean sitting still while life does everything for you. It means becoming receptive enough to hear the next clear step and grounded enough to take it. It means your energy is not scattered across resentment, comparison, regret, fear, and the silent belief that you are somehow unworthy of more. Because the field, as many spiritual traditions would poetically describe it, is not impressed by your performance. It is attuned to your pattern. Your pattern is the way you speak to yourself when nobody hears. Your pattern is the way you react when an opportunity seems bigger than your current identity. Your pattern is the way you handle receiving. Do you open? Do you contract? Do you immediately feel guilty? Do you fear losing what comes? Do you sabotage what feels too good because part of you still associates abundance with danger? Take a moment with that. What if abundance has not been avoiding you? What if certain forms of abundance approached, but the old identity inside you whispered, "This is too much. This is not safe. People like me do not receive like this. If I rise, I will be judged. If I succeed, I will be abandoned. If I have more, I might lose myself." These are not failures. They are imprints. Many people carry unseen agreements with scarcity, not because they chose them consciously, but because they learned them through family, culture, disappointment, survival, or pain. And when these agreements remain unexamined, the mind may call them reality. But they are not always reality. Sometimes they are rehearsed limits. The second revelation is this: your abundance expands to the degree that your identity can safely include it. Not magically, not instantly, not through empty fantasy, but gradually through choices, attention, emotional regulation, aligned action, and the willingness to become someone who no longer feels like an intruder in a larger life. There are those who ignore this inner threshold and keep demanding more from the outer world while leaving the inner container unchanged. And there are those who pause, listen, breathe, and begin to ask a better question. What version of me can receive more without fear, share more without depletion, and create more without abandoning my peace? That question changes the atmosphere. You are not here only to survive cycles of lack. You are here to remember a deeper participation with life. You are here to become a conscious receiver, a wise creator, a grounded channel of value. And if those words stir something in you, write this in the comments. I am available to receive aligned abundance. Write it slowly if you can. Not because typing words guarantees an outcome, but because writing can help your mind, your body, and your attention gather around a new intention. Let the phrase become a mirror. Let it show you where you believe it and where you still resist it. I am available to receive aligned abundance. Now listen closely. because the next part is often not shared clearly. Abundance does not always arrive first as money. Sometimes it arrives as an idea, sometimes as a conversation, sometimes as a sudden conversation, sometimes as a sudden discomfort with your old habits, sometimes as the loss of interest in things that used to drain you, sometimes as a quiet pull toward learning, resting, creating, forgiving, simplifying, asking, offering, or finally saying no. The field may speak through expansion, but it may also speak through subtraction. This is why many people miss the message. They expect abundance to look only like addition. More income, more recognition, more resources, more visible proof. But sometimes the first movement of abundance is the removal of what cannot come with you. A relationship pattern, a belief, a fear, a version of success that would have cost your soul too much. Soon you will see that receiving is not just opening the hands, it is also releasing the grip. And this is where a subtle urgency appears. Not fear, not panic, but a sacred awareness that certain windows of consciousness do not stay open forever in the same way. When your inner self is ready to change, there is a moment when life feels unusually clear. If you ignore it repeatedly, the noise returns. The old routines get louder. The familiar identity rebuilds its walls. But you still have control. You can pause today. You can listen today. You can choose one aligned action today. You can stop feeding the thought that says, "Nothing ever changes for me," and begin asking, what would become possible if I participated with the field instead of arguing with it? Feel the difference. The third revelation is that abundance is a dialogue between receptivity and responsibility. Receptivity without responsibility becomes fantasy. Responsibility without receptivity becomes exhaustion. But when both meet, something within you becomes coherent. You are not forcing, and you are not waiting helplessly. You are listening, choosing, adjusting, and moving. Abundance begins when you become available. Available to the idea that your next level may require a new rhythm. Available to the possibility that rest may be part of receiving. Available to the truth that action feels different when it comes from alignment instead of panic. Available to becoming visible. Available to being supported. Available to creating value. Available to letting old scarcity stories dissolve at the pace your system can handle. If this realization feels important, press like now as a way of anchoring it. Let the gesture say, I do not have to choose between spirit and action. I do not have to choose between trust and discipline. I can become a bridge. And if someone comes to mind as you listen, someone who is tired, blocked, or quietly afraid that abundance has forgotten them, share this message with them. Not to convince them of anything, but to offer a doorway. Sometimes one sentence arrives at the right moment and becomes a lamp. Now, breathe with me. Inhale gently through the nose if you can. Hold for just a soft moment. Exhale slowly, as if you are letting go of a version of you that has been trying to carry the entire future alone. Again, inhale possibility. Exhale pressure. Inhale presence. Exhale comparison. Inhale enoughness. Exhale the belief that you must prove your worth before life can meet you. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw soften. Let your hands rest. And as you listen, imagine that your body is not an obstacle to abundance, but a doorway through which abundance must feel safe to enter. You do not need to force an image. Just allow one to arise. Perhaps you see light. Perhaps you see an open field. Perhaps you see a door a river, a golden thread, a quiet room, or simply darkness with a sense of peace inside it. Whatever appears is enough. Now imagine that in front of you there is a version of yourself who has learned to receive without fear. This version is not arrogant, not detached, not superior. This version is grounded, calm, generous, discerning, and clear. They do not chase every opportunity. They recognize the ones that resonate. They do not worship money. They understand money as one possible form of movement, exchange, support, and responsibility. Look at this version of you. Notice how they breathe. Notice how they stand. Notice what they no longer apologize for. Notice what they have stopped explaining to people who were committed to misunderstanding them. And now, silently ask, what is one thing I must become available to now? Do not rush the answer. It may be courage, it may be structure, it may be forgiveness, it may be visibility, it may be patience, it may be asking for help, it may be learning a skill, it may be leaving a pattern, it may be receiving love without suspicion, it may be treating your own gifts as real, feel, breathe, allow, observe, accept, receive. Abundance begins when you become available. If you can feel even a small shift in your body, anchor this state by liking the video. Not because the button changes reality by itself, but because symbolic actions can help mark inner transitions. Let it be a small seal on this moment. I felt it. I noticed it. I am willing. Now we go deeper. There is a reason the title of this message speaks of the quantum field rather than simply saying, think abundance. The phrase quantum field is often used spiritually as a symbol for possibility before form, for the unseen before the seen, for the mystery that exists before a choice becomes a life. Whether you approach it scientifically, poetically, philosophically, or meditatively, the metaphor points to something powerful. Reality is not experienced only through what happens, but through the consciousness that interprets, selects, and responds to what happens. Two people can stand before the same door. One sees risk, one sees invitation, one sees proof they are not ready. One sees the next initiation. One turns away because the old self feels safer. One steps forward because the emerging self feels true. The door is the same. The identity is different. This is the main revelation of the message. Abundance is not asking you to become someone else. It is asking you to stop being loyal to the version of you that learned to survive scarcity as if survival were your final destiny. Let that settle. You are beginning to remember that lack may have shaped you, but it does not have to define your future. You are beginning to remember that receiving does not make you selfish when it allows you to live, serve, create, care, and expand with greater integrity. You are beginning to remember that abundance is not a prize for the perfect. It is a relationship with life that can be healed, rebuilt, and matured. This is not the end of your transformation. It is the first step toward a new identity. The old identity says, I must struggle to be worthy. The emerging identity says, I can create value from alignment. The old identity says, if I receive, something will be taken. The emerging identity says, I can receive with wisdom and use what comes with care. The old identity says, abundance belongs to others. The emerging identity says, I am willing to learn how abundance moves through me. This is where the archetype of the receiver awakens. Not the passive receiver, the conscious receiver. The one who listens and acts. The one who rests and builds. The one who dreams and organizes. The one who trusts and verifies. The one who opens and discerns. You are not being asked to abandon the world. You are being invited to inhabit it differently. And if this is activating something in you, write this declaration in the comments. I am becoming a conscious receiver of abundance. Write it as a marker of identity. Write it as a witness. Write it so that when you see your own words, a part of your mind understands that you are no longer only asking for abundance from outside. You are participating with it from within. I am becoming a conscious receiver of abundance. There are those who have explored these ideas for centuries through prayer, contemplation, philosophy, ritual, and meditation. Different cultures used different languages. Some spoke of grace, some spoke of flow, some spoke of providence, some spoke of harmony with the unseen. Today, some people use the language of energy, field, frequency, and possibility. These are frameworks, symbols, maps. And while no map should be mistaken for the territory, a good map can help you walk with greater awareness. The hidden perspective is simple, but not always easy. Abundance is not merely acquired. It is allowed, organized, embodied, circulated, and respected. Allowed, because you must stop rejecting what you secretly desire. Organized, because abundance often requires structure, attention, and practical containers. Embodied, because your body must feel safe enough to remain open when more arrives. Circulated, because what you receive can become value, generosity, creativity, and movement. Respected, because abundance without consciousness can become noise, excess, or distraction. This is why your next step may not be dramatic. It may be very simple. Clean one corner of your life. Finish one promise to yourself. Review your finances without shame. Make one offer. Send one message. Learn one skill. Create 1 hour of silence. Release one resentment. Say no to one leak of energy. Say yes to one door that has been waiting for your courage. The field does not need you to perform spirituality. It invites you to become coherent. Abundance begins when you become available, and availability can be practiced. When you wake, before reaching for the world, place one hand over your heart and ask, what kind of abundance am I available to embody today? Not just receive, embody. Because receiving without embodiment can pass through your life like water through open fingers. During the day, when fear speaks, do not attack it. Listen. Fear is often an old protector using outdated information. Thank it for trying to keep you safe, then choose one action from the new identity. A small action, a real action. One email, one boundary, one page, one conversation, one breath before reacting, one decision that respects your future. At night, instead of counting only what is missing, name 3 forms of abundance that touched you. A message, a meal, an idea, a moment of peace, a lesson, a person, a chance to begin again. This does not deny your challenges. It trains perception to recognize support. Take another breath now. Feel your chest. Feel your hands. Feel your feet. Notice where the word abundance lives in your body. Does it feel open, tight, warm, distant, heavy, bright? There is no wrong answer. Your body is not failing you. It is giving you information. Place your attention on the area where you feel the most resistance. And instead of forcing it open, speak inwardly with kindness. I do not have to receive everything at once. I can open safely, wisely, gradually. Let this settle. Many people try to jump from scarcity into expansion without honoring the nervous system that learned to protect them. But true expansion is not violent. It is integrated. It respects the pace of the soul and the reality of the body. It does not shame the past. It includes the past, learns from it, and then stops letting it drive every future decision. If this message has brought clarity, like the video again in your awareness, even if you already pressed it once, let the action symbolize sealing the teaching. I can open safely, wisely, gradually. And remember, the message is not telling you that money will appear without effort, or that every desire will arrive exactly as imagined. It is inviting you to explore a more empowered relationship with possibility. It is inviting you to become the kind of person who can notice opportunities, prepare for them, respond to them, and hold them with maturity. That is sacred. That is practical. That is the bridge. The abundance you seek may come through channels you do not expect. Through learning, through service, through a relationship, through a creative idea, through a brave decision, through consistency, through a season that feels quiet but is actually strengthening your roots, through something that ends because it can no longer match the future being formed in you. Do not confuse delay with denial. Do not confuse preparation with punishment. Do not confuse the silence of the field with absence. Sometimes silence is the space where a deeper instruction forms, and one instruction is already clear. Stop speaking to yourself as if you are permanently excluded from the flow of life. You are not excluded. You may be healing your capacity to receive. You may be learning the discipline that abundance requires. You may be releasing identities that made lack feel familiar. You may be standing at the beginning of a new cycle, where the first evidence is not external wealth, but internal permission. That matters, because when internal permission changes, behavior changes. When behavior changes, patterns change. When patterns change, outcomes may begin to change. Not always instantly, not always in the way the ego demands, but often enough and deeply enough that life starts to feel less like a wall and more like a conversation. The message of the quantum field, in the language of the soul, is this: become available to the abundance that matches your becoming. Not the abundance that feeds your fear. Not the abundance that proves your worth to people who cannot see you. Not the abundance that makes you abandon your body, your peace, or your truth. The abundance that matches your becoming. The kind that expands your dignity. The kind that strengthens your service. The kind that allows you to live with more beauty, more clarity, and more freedom. Share this message with someone who is ready to stop identifying with lack. Send it to the person who has been quietly trying to believe again. Send it not as pressure, but as a blessing. Sometimes the field speaks through a friend, through a link, through a sentence that arrives exactly when the heart is tired of pretending it does not need hope. And before we close, here is the final integration. For the next 24 hours, do not ask only, "Where is my abundance?" Ask, "Where am I unavailable to it?" Am I unavailable because I am afraid of being seen? Am I unavailable because I keep delaying the action I already know to take? Am I unavailable because I associate receiving with guilt? Am I unavailable because my attention is consumed by what I fear instead of what I can build? These questions are not meant to judge you. They are meant to return power to you. Because if abundance were only outside, you would have to wait helplessly. But if part of abundance is your relationship to possibility, then today you can participate. Today you can breathe differently, choose differently, prepare differently, speak differently, receive differently. This perspective is not usually shared with enough tenderness. Some people make abundance sound like a command. Others make it sound like a fantasy. But the deeper way is neither pressure nor illusion. It is intimacy with life. it is cooperation. It is the sacred art of becoming someone through whom value can move.